You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
Sorry, we were having our own little Bible study in the back and forgot what time it was. Kris is very excited to be here this morning, and he got to see his favorite advert of all time, the 12-minute bird song.
It's good. It's all good.
So, good morning, Allan Aguirre, Kris Rosentrater, Lenny Perata, Chameleon Church Show coming to you live and direct from all over the freaking place. And guys, as the advert told us, and adverts don't lie, at least not here at Chameleon Church, the spring feasts will be here this weekend. So this Friday, we have Shabbat. We also have Passover at the same time. So in the evening, before sunset, is Passover. And then after the sun sets, it'll be the high Sabbath of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So you have to have your house purged of Hametz and Seor. Now, what does that mean? You have to have, well, I wrote a book about it. What is that? You have to have your house purged. Yeah, cheers.
It's a good book.
Lenny's not playing. Lenny's not playing. Don't you have
his wife hasn't got him coffee yet.
She hasn't got my coffee yet.
What's wrong with her? Is Linda slacking this morning?
She's sleeping right now.
And you can't make your own cup of coffee?
I had to take care of my puppy this morning, so
did I. I had to take care of two puppies, two cats.
Oh, I know you got
and
two
I made
puppies.
Coffee, and here I am.
Okay, you got to cleanse your house from
of Seor and Hametz. We're talking about items that are with leaven and leavening agents. Okay, that does not include baking soda, and people go nuts. They just. I have a friend. Well, I have a relative who's got like a 15-page thing on all this stuff. It's like, yeah, no, that's not what the Bible says. You keep doing your rabbinical thing there, buddy. Anyway, so that has to happen by Friday. And then Saturday will be the high Sabbath of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Saturday night at sunset is Feast of First Fruits, the resurrection of Jesus, of Messiah, and then begins the Omer count. All of that is happening in a 24-hour period. And we are counting our way to seeing all of you happy, shiny people in Lehi, a place called Levi, with our Shavuot conference. Hey, sign up. Covenant Community, Shavuot. Go to this link, chameleonchurch.com/Shavuot. You register with us so that you can eat, and you register with the hotel for your room. Let's do this, people. We are so excited. Bunch of us obviously have already. And also, don't forget this week, not to be weird, but this is for you. This is the instruction. It's not an Allan Aguirre thing. This weekend with Passover is the first of the three pilgrimage feasts where you bring an offering above and beyond, and you send it to your priest, or you send it to your pastor, or you send it to your spiritual leader, or whatever. If that's us, awesome, thank you. If that's Root Awakening, awesome. Regardless, you need to do that because that's the instruction. That's just the way it works, people. I didn't write the Bible. And of course, we have a giving link with all the various ways you can give to Chameleon Church. That's at chameleonchurch.com/give. Thank you very much. My account just got hammered with all the subscriptions to do this kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? What else? He doesn't have a Keurig. I do have a Keurig. Someone's hurt me. What else? Oh, thank you. I'm getting compliments on my haircut with that what we were talking about. This is just thank you very much. I haven't had this haircut in a while. It's one of my favorite ones.
He just got back from the No Kings protest.
What's that?
You just got back from the No Kings protest. You had to look. You had to represent.
I was walking by a No Kings protest over the weekend, and they jumped me, and this is how I came out. That's about as far as we get with that. We can't say what we were really saying about my haircut. Okay, that's what's going on. Did I forget anything, Lenny? Oh, no, and Rude Awakening. This Friday will be also the Rude Awakening Ministries Passover deal. I'm speaking on Saturday. I think my segment is 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. Eastern, so that shouldn't conflict with us doing prophetic points, because it'll be, I think our prophetic points is at 10 a.m. and lunch break. So you can watch me on Rude and then watch my wife, my lovely wife, and I, probably just more my lovely wife, who I haven't seen in a gazillion. And we'll do prophetic points this weekend. And what was that? What was the other thing? Oh, Lenny needs a cure. Oh, that's right, huh? Because he ain't got no coffee. Uh-huh. Who hurt you, Lenny?
Well, I'll have it in a little bit. Don't worry.
So yeah, Rude Awakening, and if you don't know what I mean by prophetic points, if you can go to that give link. My wife and I do, predominantly my wife. She's really good at it. It's been a real blessing to watch her do this. At the last Sabbath of every month, I know it's a week late. She's not here. The last Sabbath of every month, on or around then, we do a thing called prophetic points, where we go through the previous month's prophetic words from a whole bunch of different amazing prophets and prophetesses. It's pretty intense. It's pretty amazing, and she does a great job. And we do that for those that support.
Lost your audio, brother. Lost your audio. We heard a click, and then it stopped out. It went and then glitched out.
There we go.
You're out. Can't hear you. He knows. We're overdubbing. It's like bad lip syncing with Allan Aguirre, or bad lip reading. Boy, oh boy.
I'll start my Counting the Omer devotions. I've done it for the last 8 years, and I send them out every day on an email. And there's a lot of the Chameleons that I send it to. So I just want to let you guys know, on the Chameleon Church, those will be going out. So I have your past emails. If you want my devotions and you've never got them before, text me with your email and your name so I can include it, and you'll get one every day for 50 days. And we just actually basically go through Psalm 119 over and over. I retweak it for every year, but everybody goes, "Are you going to do it this year? Are you going to do it this year?" I go, "Yep. Saturday night, you'll get one."
Well, I'm going to text you right now to add me.
Okay, I'll add you in there, Kris. We'll start it out. And the first time you'll probably get 2 files in your email. One just for explaining what it is and what we're doing, and that one will also start the devotion. So
8 years, man.
It's really a good time for preparation of the heart as we lead into Shavuot. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about bearing fruit later, but like, I think so many times bearing fruit, like if you've been doing this for 8 years, the first and second years, you might have been filled with joy, and then 4th and 5th years, it becomes drudgery, but you're like, it's my assignment. I have to do it. Like, bearing fruit is a long-term mindset, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You want to finish well, right?
Yeah. Running through the tape.
I know. And the thing is, it hasn't become rote. It's funny. It charges me up every time, because as I'm looking what I wrote last year and I'm just retweaking, I don't change a lot. I can see where I came from last year and what we're facing. And some of them stay the same. Others, there's that verse that just gets you and saying, oh, how this applies for today, And it's amazing. It really, it's fresh every time. It's good. It's good.
Cool.
But we so far, I was telling Allan, we're putting on that, me and Linda are not just co-leading it, we're putting it on again with the new pastor at Ferndale. We already got about 81 people.
What, a dinner?
Yeah, we're cooking 60 pounds of brisket and tons of chicken thighs, and so we got a full crew. So that's
nice.
It's not, and it's just, I wish we had a bigger place because we'd have it even packed out more.
You're gonna have 60 people at your house?
No, we're at the Fellowship Center.
I was like,
81 people.
Gotcha. I was like, you're gonna be in the backyard.
Yeah. It's the
We're having
Fellowship Ferndale Community Church.
We're having a smaller group at our place. A lot of our groups out of town are in Israel, actually. So smaller group, but we're hosting. So we were talking through it last night. Steph.
Oh, that's neat.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
I mean, just the amount of people that are going to be in the kitchen, there's going to be about eight people there. We handed out recipes. We had to triple everything because you got matzah soup and all the kegel and all the haricet and all that. And they're making it. We got all the recipes where they make it. And then the cleanup crew after for all the people. And Linda does all the children. She does the children's bag. She's going to have the kids help her out. We got 25 little bags for the plagues. And she puts on a little skit then. It's really cool. So the kids get involved. It's really neat. And then they pick out all the little plagues and they put the dots on their face. And and it's interesting. It's not they engage with it to get everybody participating. So it's kind of fun. And one of the challenges I'll have this year is in co-leading it. In all the years past, we really make it a prophetic event for those that are filled with the Holy Spirit to be able to enter in and speak up what the Spirit of God's saying to them as we're going through it, the moment he hits them, and make time for that. With the new pastor, I don't know how much. He said I had free course, so I'm not going to hold back. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk this at our dinner too. We got some people asking just the concept of in Scripture where it's talking about the week, the Holy Week, but talking about the Sabbath and high Sabbath and the confusion around. Well, it says Sabbath, so that means it was Sunday, and just going through some of that on a really simpler level. I think the first time I heard it was probably Allan talking about it years ago, but that just like, the Wednesday and the Thursday and when was he actually crucified? And you're like, it's kind of mind blowing. Like they didn't teach that. I've never heard that, you hear the meme. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
But even this week, it's so thick. And Noella, my daughter, she's off at college. She's talking about, she runs video or photography or something at her church, and they're, the pastor's getting up and saying, if you're a Christian, you don't celebrate Easter, you have a problem, and why wouldn't and they're having the Easter egg hunts, and you're just like, oh my gosh, spinning out. But Steph was helping in kids. I think it was a Sunday I was with you, Allan, last Sunday, and she was telling me about it last night. They were having resurrection egg hunts like the last 2 Sundays, and she's volunteering with the kids. And the person in charge is out, so she's in charge, and she's like, guys, I'm not feeling good about this. Like to the Sunday school teachers, and they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I could get into it, but she's having side conversations now about, man, I feel the same way too about the whole Easter eggs, resurrection eggs, rebranding of Easter, and she did it it was so sweet because she did it in her way. Like, I'm really uncomfortable with this. Were you guys okay? Since I know they did it last week, let's not do it this week. And, I just feel in conflict. And several of the teachers were like, yeah, we agree. Why are we doing this? So that's so interesting. But it's just it's so ingrained in us. It's just so ingrained in not us, in as you know,
Culture.
church circles.
Well, it's been going on for 1700 plus 1800 years. I mean, they're having issues. Oh, so anyway, I forgot to charge my receiver for my wireless. That's what happened. So
it just it sounded like a tech glitch.
Yeah, no, I was just I've been a little frazzled. Because of the new moon, the dates are fluid, and it was already in the first century. No, it was in the second century, like 110 roughly. They wanted to normalize it, like Thanksgiving is the last Thursday of every month. They wanted to do that to Passover, and people were like, "No, you can't do that. This is based on you have the new moon, and the new moon is fluid, and you can't just normalize it." So it was a long time ago. I mean, it was like if he died in 30 AD, within less than 100 years after Jesus died, they're trying to normalize Passover, Christianity. And there was a small group of people, upstarts, that didn't want to cooperate. They were called the 14ers because they wanted to do it the 14th day of the month based on the new moon. And so they've been messing with this. Christianity's been messing with the recipe less than 100 years after the fact. And then you got 180 AD with Irenaeus publishing his book called Heresies in the Church. There's 2 chapters in there about how the Gentile church was not keeping Torah as a heresy. They weren't, So all of this is before 200 AD, right? So it's like it's been messed up for a very long time. It was messed up when Jesus was walking the earth. You have two of the brothers bringing in their mom into the mix, trying to get them to have my son sit on your left and right hand, and Jesus is like, "What? You guys are nuts." Right? Hey, they're preaching about you, and they're not of us, right? So it's already goofy. Look at what Judas did. He's carrying the money and he's stealing, skimming off the top. This thing has been jacked up from the get-go. I remember, I really, there's that passage I remember thinking about it even before I got married. I used to think, man, this is heavy duty. Talking about how if your house is out of order, if your personal household is out of order, how can you possibly be a minister of the gospel? And why would you possibly think that you could lead a church if your house is a wreck? And I used to think about that before I got married. Like, man, this is a high standard. You got to have your act together to minister to God. And so I was always heavy-handed on myself regarding my family, my children, stuff like that, the witness, the testimony. And my pastor at Shady Grove took me aside one day and he goes, "Have you ever considered God's family, the 12 patriarchs?" Those guys were a freaking train wreck. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I kind of like gave myself a little bit more grace than I used to. I was real, heavy-handed about it. So you have this thing that's been messed with and jacked up for a very long time called Christendom, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse, obviously, with all the paganism, the mixture. I remember Lenny using that word mixture way back in the day. Yeah, and so yeah, there's all that going around. While I was running around, I'm looking at all these microphones and going, I need to set something up really fast. And my mobile mic setup is in the closet somewhere, and I wasn't going to dig it out. Holy Week. I mean, so yeah, he came in to Jerusalem on the 10th day. It was a Sabbath. It was a Saturday, Palm Sunday. That was a Sabbath. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he was being examined, because you examine the Passover lamb for 4 days leading up to the 14th day. His last examination was obviously Pontius Pilate, when they decided they wanted Barabbas. What was that? Son of Abba? Yeah, that's what his name is. Son of God, Barabbas. Think about that. The name. So Tuesday night would have been the Last Supper. It wasn't a Passover. It's impossible for it to have been a Passover because it was the 13th day. And then someone goes, well, people go, well, but then after sunset when they were having dinner, it would have been the 14th. I'm like, that's Passover. No, it clearly states that Passover is in the evening of the 14th day, not the top of it, at the end of it. So there's that. The Gospel of John, as I explained in my Facebook, lays it out. It makes it very clear. He said he wanted to observe Passover with us that year, but he wouldn't do it again until in heaven. So there's when he comes back, when he returns. So there's a Passover in Christianity's future, and they don't really know anything about it. When he told Judas to go do quickly what he had to do, remember when he dipped the bread and ate the bread? It was bread. It wasn't matzah. There's the other clue that it wasn't Passover.
Steph said, we were talking about this last night, and Steph said that. She goes, but yeah, because it's never made sense to me. They dipped it in bread, but if it's just like the lights start going off.
Yeah.
When you start actually just thinking about it.
Yeah. When you have an understanding of what's going on, yeah. And it said that Lucifer, Satan, entered into Judas when he ate that. And he's sitting next to Jesus. How does Lucifer enter into you when you're sitting next to Messiah? Well, you're a human. You can do whatever the hell you want. And he did. Lucifer entered him when he ate the bread that was dipped, that was handed to him. And he goes, go, we have to go do quickly. And everybody thought he went to go, since he had the money bag, he went to go get preparations for the feast. It hadn't happened yet. And the whole Garden of Gethsemane is all that's done. And then on Wednesday and the Sabbath, they had to take his body off the cross before the Sabbath came. And which incriminates Catholicism twice, because that's where they get Good Friday, meaning what? They know the Sabbath is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, but they changed it to Sunday anyway. So that's their first mistake. And the second mistake was they thought they needed to get his body off the cross for the weekly Sabbath. Did they not know that the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a high Sabbath? Apparently not. They didn't even know how to read the Bible, let alone count to 3. So that was on Wednesday.
That's some crazy 24 hours, man.
Oh, yeah. That's a crazy 24 hours.
Just and remember, chaos, just like
stay up and sleep. Pray with me, and they would. They kept falling out asleep. You couldn't even pray with me, and then they get arrested, right? So he's going back and forth from Herod and Pilate a 2 or 3 times Wednesday morning. It's the 14th day of the month. Then he's crucified. And then 2 Pharisees take his body down. 2 Pharisees. That's important to understand. Take his body, right, and they put him in the tomb, Joseph of Arimathea's tomb, before the high Sabbath of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So then on Thursday, they can't do anything about the body. Friday morning, the women get up and they go and they purchase spices and they get all the stuff they need for a proper burial, but they can't do anything because now the weekly Sabbath is here. So Wednesday to Thursday is 1, Thursday to Friday is 2. Right, so they can't do anything on Thursday because it's a high Sabbath. They can't. Friday they do the purchasing, but they can't actually go and prep the body because Shabbat's coming. So the weekly Sabbath is there. That's 2 days. Friday to Saturday night is 3 days, and they come to the tomb after the Sabbath during Feast of First Fruits. They see him. They think he's the gardener. He's got vegetation in his hand. We believe he was doing the wave sheaf offering because it's first fruits. And then he calls her name, and she, Maria, or Miriam, and he goes, and she recognizes his voice. Don't touch me. I haven't got to my father yet, but let them know you've seen me. It's because it says on Sunday morning they woke up and they went to the tomb and he was already gone. Yeah, he left Saturday night. Try convincing Christianity of that narrative. I've tried for a very long time, and they will not budge. Yeah. So if you don't celebrate Easter, you're not saved. I've been told that because I don't do Christmas, Easter, and I don't believe in the Trinity, I'm not saved. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'm not saved to your pagan God. That's good. That's a good thing. I'd rather be saved to the true Messiah of Israel, whose path was already laid out from before the foundations of the earth. Because he's the Passover lamb that was slain before the earth. Think about that. So I did a little video clip for Rude. I don't know if they showed it or if they're going to show it. I don't know if they've shown it, but I'll share it with you guys after Passover because it's content that I made for them. And what does Passover mean to you? And I start talking about time jumps, because you've got this pre-earth thing, and then you've got this Egypt thing, and then you have Jesus doing it, and it's a memorial for us. Oh, so what was I talking about before my? Oh yeah, you can go to the giving link for the pilgrimage feast offering. So it's a very interesting thing, Passover. I think it's fascinating because it's something that was established before our earth time continuum, before our whole time, this whole what's that word we use to mess around with people? Not construct, simulation. Yeah, before this entire simulation started, Jesus was already our Passover lamb.
Ephesians chapter 1.
And they cheapen it. And they've been cheapening it for a very long time. Well, I mean, if you're going to change the narrative, you got to change the narrative. And they changed the narrative. You can't actually go with something that's overtly Jewish, like Passover, and associate the Gentile Messiah with that. That kind of defeats your narrative. So you have to, if you're going to change the narrative, you have to change everything about it. That's how you get all this creepy stuff. I posted my Easter Bunny Hates You. I've been doing that for years and years and years and years.
He chose us in him before the foundations of the world.
That's crazy.
That we should be holy and blameless.
So he knew you by name before you were born. I mean, okay. So God sets this whole deal up. He calls you. He knows you, and he calls you before you were even born, before you had even manifested in the physical earth realm deal, to serve him, to follow him. How upset is he going to be when you don't do that? Pretty upset. How upset is he going to be when you decide to listen to the enemy whose whole MO is to destroy you and to get you, to keep you from understanding and hearing correctly and aligning? He's going to be a little upset about that. Right? So we read it like, so I shared this yesterday, the other day, in a public conversation on Facebook. I mentioned, if you're a Christian buying into the farce that is no kings, I mean, first of all, you have to be incredibly, extremely ignorant. Let's just call it. You're really pretty stupid if you're doing that, because there are no kings. You obviously don't understand politics and what's going on. You just don't like the guy. Let's just call it what it is, right? So this whole no kings thing is one of the more stupider things. Is that a word? That goes on out there with liberals. But anyway, so I posted that if you're a Christian, you're buying into that, because you got to remember a whole bunch of Christians bought into the other stuff that came down the pipe the last 6 years, and they were wrong about all of them, every single one of them. One of them was one of them was they were pagans, right? They were money front.
BLM.
Yeah, I was trying not to say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. But they were Wiccans. They were card carrying Wiccans, pagans, and it was a money laundering front for the Democratic Party. It said so on their website, and everyone ignored it. But the fact that Christians were literally out in their streets with their little kids carrying those signs tells you just how the lack of discernment in Christianity. They bought into that. They buy into the Palestine thing. They buy into all this stuff. So I said, if you're a Christian and you've bought into this, it might be a little difficult might be a little weird when Jesus comes back to set himself up as what? As king. He's going to rule from earth, from Jerusalem for 1,000 years as king of this world. I posted that, and a whole bunch of people understood what I was talking about, except for a couple of them, and they were like, and I'm like, So I said, look, every Christian knows it should be a common sense thing in Christianity that Jesus is coming back to rule as king. I mean, you sing about it in your freaking Christmas songs. Are you totally unaware of what you're talking about or singing about during Christmas? Right? Doesn't it say in Luke the government will be on the government of man will be on his shoulders? I mean, come on, it's all in there. This isn't or in the same way we were talking about. Oh, look at all this Passover stuff. How did I not see it before? I think the same thing is happening to them about a bunch of stuff. In the same way, we didn't see Torah in the gospel until our eyes were opened. Until what does it say in Corinthians? The veil was removed from our heart by the Holy Spirit. Well, is it possible that the reason that they don't even understand that this stuff about Jesus or Israel or all that, I guarantee you it's the same smokescreen. It's part of that same veil. Not just Torah, but just the basics, like we're talking about. This, and I go, it's a basic Christian thing. Jesus is going to be king. He's going to come back and rule. He's coming back slaughtering kings, setting himself up as a government on earth from Jerusalem. And this guy's like, that's like really hard for me to really understand, to grasp my mind around it. He's going to come and he's going to set himself up as king to a bunch of people that don't want to serve him. I'd like to see, I like to see him try and pull that off. And I'm like, yikes. It's like, is that a threat? Is that a challenge? And I go, but see, what you don't understand is you're making my point. Because if we can start because that's the process. If we can start planting that seed of doubt regarding kingdom, monarchy into your mind now, and all these people buy into it, it's going to be a lot harder for them to swallow the idea or the concept of that being Jesus coming back to set himself up as king, because they've already been perverted with the concept or the idea. That's the way the enemy works. Did God really say? That was my point. And he's like, oh, well, see, it's just hard for me to believe that Jesus would come back here and set himself up as king to a bunch of people that I'm like, you just made my point. That's my point. See, you're the demographic. You already don't believe that Jesus is going to do that or could do that. You already believe that. You're literally the point that I'm trying to make.
The posters should be changed from no kings to no kings but I.
Yeah. Or really no dictators, because that's what they're talking about. But anyway, I go, but then Jesus literally says this. What you're saying you can't grasp, Jesus literally said is what he's doing in Luke, the parable of the mina. He goes to set himself up as king in a land that doesn't want him as king. And in the end, he has them brought to him and slaughtered, the ones that opposed him. They're not going to teach you that. They're not going to preach on Jesus slaughtering humans that oppose him, because that's not the Jesus they're selling. They're selling like Lenny says, the peace-loving Bobby Sherman Jesus, the grace Jesus, the mercy Jesus, the you can do whatever the hell you want Jesus, and you're good to go Jesus.
You said it when the serpent said to Eve, did God really say? That was the first religious segue. That was the first segue. Well, you can do whatever you want. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was thinking of Amos 3, where it says there's a famine of the word in the land. And it wasn't bread and water. They didn't listen to the prophets who established Torah, established the message. And it's interesting. You see people, I had this thought in my mind. I didn't share it last night because he told me I couldn't. It's interesting. I'm looking at my own body. I'm going, here we are. well-fed people feeding ourselves. But when you look at the body of Messiah, it's scrawny and
Anemic.
empty. They have nothing. There's no nourishment because there's a famine of God's word. And I was reading through Proverbs this month, my devotion. Every time it talked about the fear of the Lord and wisdom, gaining wisdom, he says, get insight. You know what that is? That's thinking intelligently of how simple it really is to know him and love him and understand him, what wisdom's all about. And like you said, they're clueless. If they're dancing in the streets with their kids, shouting no kings, there's no insight. There is no fear of the Lord.
Yeah, no, there isn't. They don't know who Jesus is. They only know the Jesus they want him to be.
That's exactly right.
Not who he is. I mean, if you read Luke chapter 19, verses 11 through 25, no, 11 through 27, that's the parable of the minas. That's what I'm talking about, where he sets himself up as king in a land that doesn't want him to be king. 98% of the text is red letter. So it's already begun. So I'm thinking that's a prophetic post. You know, if you're a Christian and you're buying into this no king thing, that's going to really conflict with the return of Jesus for you. One, they've been told that, well, he says his kingdom is not of this world. So he's not coming back to establish a kingdom on earth. He's coming back to establish a spiritual kingdom. No, he already did that, sunshine. He's coming back to establish a physical kingdom. They don't believe that.
No.
They don't believe he's coming back to establish a physical kingdom because his kingdom is not of this world. Well, he said that once, and he said it to Pilate. He didn't say that to you. Because there's a whole bunch of other scriptures, way more passages that say otherwise. So they don't believe he's coming back to do that, for one. And if he does come back to do that, he's not coming back to do what he says in Luke that he's coming to do. Against your will, I'm going to set myself up as king. And that's the whole premise for no kings movement. It's not a movement. Come on. Right? That's the whole premise of that. So they already aren't going to know it's him because he's coming back as a Jewish terrorist hell-bent on Zionism, according to their definition of everything. And he's going to set himself up as king from Jerusalem. That's not going to fly. They're not going to allow that. And then he's going to slaughter those that oppose him. That's not Jesus. They're not teaching that Jesus. They're teaching a different Jesus. The older I get, the more the Christian narrative is demonic. Sorry, it's just not biblical. If it's not biblical and it's not scriptural and it's not based on truth, it's a lie based on deception, propaganda, demonic. It's just the Christianity that they preach, the Jesus that they preach, isn't found in the narrative contextually. You can't just take one verse and say, look. It doesn't work that way. And people cringe when I talk like that. You just called Christianity demonic. Well, what is it then? If it's not godly, if it's not scriptural, if what you believe about Jesus, what you believe about the things of the faith, if those don't align with scripture, then it's a false gospel. It's a false Jesus. If it's not godly, it's demonic. We're not here to bash Christianity. We're here to try to get you to we're trying to help ministries walking. We're trying to help you open up your eyes to see what the Bible actually says. Christianity versus the Bible. This is what Christianity tells you. We know very well what Christianity tells you because between the three of us, we've been in Christendom for over 100 years. Collective years right here.
It's time for course correction. It really is. I mean, we're talking, we use the word Christianity, but if we want to get more specific, at evangelical Christianity, there's a seepage there where the whole fashion of preterism, and let me define that he already came back. There's no millennium, but it's couched in this. We are the church triumphant. We have victory. There's nothing can hold us back because it'll be the church that ushers in all this glorious unity and community. And that is probably one of the most deceptive, deceiving doctrines. A lot of worship songs are celebrated around that. Victory, victory, victory. I got victory. I got freedom. I got freedom, freedom, freedom. And they're going, to what end? And
I mean, they're setting themselves up for a massive, massive fall.
They don't understand. It's been so seductive. And I'm not going to name some of the churches, but they're just falling into preterism, because it's the church. The church has become the center, and it's not Jesus.
Yeah, worship music lyrics are the most cringy. They're the cringiest thing out there because they're not based on any sort of actual scriptural or biblical premise.
Yeah,
it's so bizarre. Except there is one that they all love to sing, and I love the song, but they still don't know what they're talking about. Oh man, I was just
do tell. Which one?
Talking about it.
Kumbaya,
my Lord. The incense. What's that song? Help me, Alyssa. It's about the incense. They're literally talking about the Levitical priests burning incense in the temple. So they don't even know that's what they're talking about. Oh man. Anyway, Alyssa, what's the song that we were talking about the incense? How's it go? Okay, apparently it's called "Worthy of It All." I don't know what that means. Is that the song? What's the lyric? I can't remember how it goes. Worthy of it all. Anyway, it talks about it's talking about the incense burning in the temple.
Michael Bremer wrote that song.
I have no idea.
He's a vineyard guy.
But they don't know what that means because God didn't Jesus do away with that? So why are you singing about it? See, that's what I'm saying. It's just right. so. Enemy's done a really good job, and we're trying
day and night, let incense arise.
Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Yeah,
right.
That's what that's about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So anyway, it's just but see, for example, my Facebook page as of yesterday is proving my point. These things are working. So here's okay, my friend already didn't have a proper exegesis or a proper understanding or concept behind Jesus returning as king, right? And so because that's confusing to them and they don't know how to process it and no one's teaching them, it's a concept that's completely removed and void of their faith profile. What are we talking about? Jesus' return as king. Wow, that's a pretty important piece of the narrative. That's our hope. That's our glory. Right? So if this is happening to him, I promise, date, time stamp, it's happening to hundreds of thousands of people out there as well that call themselves Christians. They don't have an understanding. They can't process. They can't process the red letters in Luke. Think about that. How terrifying is that? They're having a problem processing the red letters in Luke. And we're trying to explain to them Passover before the foundation of the earth. Do you see what's happening? They can't process something Jesus said in the red letters in the Gospels. How are they going to be able to process Deuteronomy, Exodus, Genesis chapter 2. They can't. That's what the devil has done to the mind of Christendom. Because why? They are not spiritually minded. They're not heavenly minded. They don't have the mind of Messiah. If you can't process the red letters in Luke, so because they're not out there searching on their own. They're not out there learning on their own. They're not Bereans. They literally, if they go to church, and I don't think this guy does. I shouldn't have talked about this because it's public. And it's public. He did it to himself. This isn't like a backstage conversation. This is in the open. So if they don't have the ability to process this red letters in Luke, I'm thinking they're going to have a harder time understanding anything else we talk about. But then what happens then, if they don't have, because they're not studying it for themselves, and they're not being taught this, because no one's teaching on this aspect of Luke. When was the last time you heard this? When was the last time you heard a pastor on a Sunday morning teaching on how Jesus is going to slaughter you if you're in opposition to his kingship? They're not talking about that. They might use the word slaughter when it comes to a lamb in a weird, right? Talking about Passover or something, just because they, anyway. Okay, so if you're a Christian and you don't have a tangible understanding of the red letters in Luke regarding his kingdom, his coming back as a king, how look at how easy it's going to be to fall into the trap of a no kings thing, social justice. Yes, Trump is bad. No kings, no king but one, blah, blah, right? But it's like, it's too easy. It's too freaking easy. That's why you find suburban moms with their baby carriages and holding their little ones with a BLM sign. That's how you get there. And see, we have to understand how that happens so that we know how to address it, and we know how to speak to it, and we know how to help them course correct. But if we don't understand the puzzle, you probably won't be able to solve it. So it's fair game to say that way too many, let's say at least half of Christianity, is incapable of reading the Bible and understanding what it says. And so when we look at them and they go, "Oh no, it's not just grace; it's grace and Torah," we just short-circuited them because they're functioning from a Greek linear mindset. It's one or the other. It can't be both. And this is where I use a word apparently I don't know how to pronounce. Cyclical, whatever it is. Alyssa, correct me again. Apparently I don't know how to talk either. Right? They can't do that. It's one or the other because of their linear mindset. So that's why a lot of this is over their head. And so it's a lot easier to just say, you're deceived. You're that's a false doctrine. Let's get you on a list so we can protect Christians from you because you're spewing all this Torahism stuff that's actually not biblical. Because they can't understand the basic red letters. How are they going to understand what we're talking about? No. Yeah, cyclical. Right? No, those are Jewish holidays. I'm not Jewish. And Israel's on everyone's bad list right now. Big time. Like, big time. And so those are Jewish holidays. I don't have to do anything with those holidays because they're Jewish. Well, it's a Jewish God. It's a Jewish Messiah. It's a Jewish Sabbath. Where do you draw the line, Mr. Christian? Mr. Christian? You know, when do you start walking in the spirit of adoption Paul talks, your apostle to the Gentiles in Romans 11 talks about. They don't. They don't know how to process that. If they can't process the red letters in Luke, are they going to be able to process chapters 9 through 11 in Romans? Oh, hell no. Chapter 10, Paul explains the gospel of salvation using Deuteronomy. We just lost every freaking buddy. What do we do? What are we going to do? Oh, I know. When Jesus showed up on the scene, the common man, the common person in Jerusalem, Israel, well, the Galilee, because he was in the Galilee, right? The common person was absolutely clueless. All they knew was what the heavy-handed Pharisees were instructing them and telling them and forcing their hand to do, blah, 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 right? And Jesus, right? And so Jesus is trying to talk to Nicodemus, and Nicodemus doesn't understand nothing. And he's like, how do you not understand this stuff? You're a leader of the people. You're a religious leader of the people. If you don't understand what I'm talking to you about when it comes to the physical realm, how the hell are you going to understand what I'm telling you about in the spiritual realm? That's the leadership, okay? Top tier. So all the other people that he's right are down here. They're not. This is way pay grade right here, way beyond their pay grade. So what does he do? He deliberately speaks in parables to them, to the common man, so that they don't understand, so that they don't understand who he is, so that they don't receive him, so they don't get healed, so they don't get saved. Well, that's another conversation. But so what does he do? He heals their sick, he casts out their demons, and he raises their dead, and he opens up their blind eyes, and he opens up their deaf ears, and they go, oh, I can relate to that. Why? Well, because I'm a human being, and I've got a crippled hand, and he just healed it. Because I'm a human being, and I'm blind, but now I can physically see. I can understand that. I can relate to that. I was deaf, and he touched my ears, and now I can hear. I can relate to that. I don't need to understand theology and doctrine. I can understand the fact that he just healed me from an issue of blood for 12 years. He just opened my blind eyes. He just opened my deaf ears. He just cast a demon out of my son who throws himself in the fire. He just raised my daughter from the dead. He just made the paraplegic to walk. I can understand that. Why? Because it's core, primitive human being stuff. And that's the gospel. According to the Gospels, that's the Gospels. He healed their sick, he cast out their demons, and he raised their dead, and they believed in him. He bypassed theology and doctrine with what? This is prophetic. I mean, I've never said this before. You guys know me for a gazillion years. You've never heard me say this, because this is being downloaded right now. He bypassed the hoops and ladders of theology and doctrine when it came to humans and went straight to their need, healed them, made them whole, and they followed him and they received him. And so what's his answer to John's disciples when they asked if he was the Messiah or not? Tell John, go back and tell John, the sick are healed, the blind see, the lame walk, the deaf hear, and the poor get the gospel. Those were his credentials that he was the Messiah. And then he duplicated that process and told his disciples to go and do the same exact thing. And we lost that. And now it's become nothing but theology and doctrine. And it's a total freaking cockadoodle show out there. It's a waste of time. There's no God in it. There's no Holy Spirit in it. We were talking about that before we went live today. If you go to 20 churches, 20 of you, we're going to send you to 20 churches. And all 20 of you are going to come back and explain to us how it was all completely wrong. Oh, so does that mean Chameleon Church has the only answer? No, the Bible is the answer. And if you're not doing what the Bible says, you're doing it wrong. And Jesus said to go and heal their sick, cast out their demons, raise their dead. That's what Jesus said to do. And that's what he taught and ordained and empowered his disciples to go do. And then he told them to duplicate that. And they did, but then the Gentiles took over, kicked the Jew out of their own club, and decided, no, God doesn't do that anymore. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in. You want to bypass theology and doctrine? You want to bypass all the bull crap? That's how you bypass it. Signs and wonders. The way Jesus explained it, to do it. He wasn't doing. He barely did doctrine and theology with the people. He saved that for the Pharisees. What did he do with the people? He healed them. He spoke in parables, so that only the ones that were supposed to know. But then he healed them and raised their dead, and that's why they believed in him. Well, we just narrowed down the playing field, didn't we? So, come to our Shavuot conference. We'll lay hands on you and give you the ability to heal the sick, cast out demons, and even raise the dead. How can you say that, Allan? Well, because he's proven it. Because it's the truth. And if you don't believe me, ask the 50 some odd people that come to the conference for the last 4 years and ask them. Don't listen to me. Ask them. Wow. Well, that was crazy.
That was excellent. Can it and let's put it on.
Can it?
Can it and let's get it out there so that they can eat it.
But if they don't understand the basic red letters, they're not going to understand any of this stuff.
You know, I'm finding out people are hungry to be taught. You get their ear, and some of them are just, yeah. Oh my gosh.
What's the location for the conference? Alyssa, can you post the link? Appreciate it. Jason, you go to chameleonchurch.com/Shavuot. I got to let my dog out. I'll be right back.
My wife just came and got my dog. Oh, that was powerful what he was saying, Kris. Oof.
Yeah. It's tough to think of how you present it in a way. Well, maybe it's not possible. It probably is, but like, it's such a shock. It's the red pill, blue pill matrix thing. So it's tough to bring up a conflicting fact. You're talking about Easter, you're talking about no kings, you're talking about, if people aren't already tracking, it's tough because it's just such a shock, and immediately the cockles go up, and it's how do you what's the opening line to presenting something if someone was going to come in agreement with what we're talking about, but they're totally the first time, like what's the opening line that is going to more likely get them interested to seek or be receptive? And it's tricky. I don't know what it is.
I think it depends on the conversation and the person.
Yeah.
I think the discernment, because I think it's, yeah.
If someone loves a BLT sandwich, which I was one of them, BLTA avocado, it's like, and well, I've just experienced this. Like, I'm not going around shouting out my dietary choices.
Yeah.
But my kids or my wife would do it, or someone, oh, he doesn't eat bacon. And why? And you're just like, well, because if you really, really love bacon and you hear someone doesn't like bacon or is not doing it, you get defensive. Or if you're very into Easter and the Easter egg hunt, and you're like, yeah, you might want to rethink that. Like, what are you talking about? You know, just like, what can you do? What can you do?
What can you do with a brat like that? Oh, he's such a punk. What can you do? Oh, sorry, I'm singing the Ramones.
You know, it's interesting when you're looking at the big cultural thing, the protests out on the street, and we're looking in the church, and the church is doing it. And you look at the people and the protests in the street, what's going to get them? Here's the narrow thing that's coming down. When you think about those two witnesses, fire comes out of their mouth. That's going to get their attention. That's the only thing that's going to get their attention on the outside.
It's going to get them killed too.
And it's coming quickly. That kind of thing. You talk about getting someone's attention. We're trying to just navigate. How do we get the people, the Christians and the people in the church to look at this stuff? But when you look at outside society, ooh, it's coming to a point. That line, we talked about that line in the sand. It's there. It's not coming. It's been there for a while.
But I think that's the thing. They don't want to know. They don't care. They don't want, they want their sin and eat it too. Christianity, I mean, here, for example, if Christians were really, really wanting to know about this stuff, I mean, they would be pursuing it. They would be asking. They would be knocking, seeking, and asking. They're not asking God to, Father, you know, they're not the majority. They're not doing that. They're not like David was like, Father, show me what's wrong with me so I can fix it. Self-examination? Oh, hell, that's not going on. No way that's going on. People don't want that.
Mm-mm.
You know how many people I know that Alyssa, do you know how many people I know that know better and could give a crap? Way too many. There's way too many people that we know in Dallas, Texas, that know better, that they're all compromised. It's like, what the hell happened? It's too easy. It's too easy to just throw in it to remember what, right? They threw in the towel and they went back to their vomit. They went back to fishing. There's like, oh, he's dead. We just wasted, if you believe it's 18 months or 36 months, we just wasted our time thinking this guy was Messiah and blah, blah, blah. They just killed him. They just nailed him to a stake. And so they were like, our lives are over. How are we going to get away with what's going to happen to us now? Everybody knows we were with him. Everybody knows we were championing this guy as Messiah. And they went back to their nets. They went back to fishing. I mean, it's like, talk about being deflated. The only other level of deflation that I can think of that's close to that is Joshua and Caleb walking in a 400-year prophecy, only to have to turn around and leave after 40 days, not to come back for 40 years. That would have been brutal. Imagine that. To finally obtain your prophetic call, only to have it ripped out of your hand because of the dumbass over there. Not because of anything you said or did, but because of what he said and did. That's what happened to Joshua and Caleb. And they tried killing them when they said, "No, we've got this. We can do this. The grace is lifted from them. They will be our bread." And they wanted to kill them for telling them the truth. Think about that for a second. They didn't say anything exaggerated. They spoke the truth. And the people in their demonic frenzy wanted to kill them.
Thank you.
To the extent that God showed up and intervened. That's how bad it was. That's how close these guys were going to get to being killed by the assembly. And then God said, nope, because of what you just did, all of you are going to die out here, and not a single one of you is going to make it into the... I mean, Two witnesses. They don't like the truth. They don't want the truth. They can't handle the truth. And they're not interested in the truth. They're only interested in their version of it. That's why Christianity is Christianity. They want their Easter. They want their Christmas. They want their pork. They want their Lent. They want everything that's not in the scripture. Why? Because they're deceived. And it's easier to go with the flow. It's easier to believe what it's groupthink. It's easier to believe what these guys believe than that Allan guy who's out on his own, who's a rogue, who's probably a cult leader. Yeah, we don't even do that good. The cult leaders thing, right? We'd rather hang out with our friends and family and play it safe and make you out to be the goofy weirdo one. I mean, he does have earrings. And he's got a woke haircut now, right? So we're gonna do our thing here because that's a lot easier to do than to. Because if Allan's right, we're all screwed. So we don't want to even entertain that possibility. Besides, he can't be right. Everybody leaves him. No one wants to work with him. The guy's a mess or whatever. We're gonna. It's so much easier if we just keep going through the motions. And they're doing this, and it's so sad. And I had to explain. And I'm looking it up because it's a lot easier if I just read it. Unfortunately, I have to do this because these people. But I explain what it was that I was talking about. The point that it's like it shouldn't have been that difficult, and it wasn't. People got it. A lot of people got it actually. But then I had to explain how. Let me find it because it's a lot easier if I read it than if I try to memorize it. Maybe I'm not going to be able to find it. It's important. This isn't Allan being sanctimonious because they think I'm all haughty and Gnostic and I know better. I know the truth and everybody else is wrong. People love that, saying that about me. Because anyway, this isn't Allan being sanctimonious. This is Allan seriously concerned that the church has no idea what they're continually aligning themselves with and broadening another aspect of that gap. There's that line that keeps them from becoming the bride. Until the bride and the spirit say come, he can't. It didn't say the church. It said the bride. And until the church becomes the bride, that can't happen. And the church is nowhere near being the bride. They don't even believe the definition of the bride, the biblical definition. If you can't understand the red letters in Luke, how are you going to understand the red letters in Revelation when he says the bride readies herself and dresses herself in the fine linen that are the righteous works, the righteous deeds? They don't believe in works. They've been taught works is wrong. It's legalism. It's not, because if we could do that, we wouldn't need Jesus, is the demonic rhetoric that comes out of their mouths. So if I don't believe in works, I'm not going to do the work of self-righteous works and put them on me to become the bride. They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. And so a year ago, I said on Rude, here's why the Holy Spirit is screaming Romans. It's the mechanics of how to make the transition from church to bride. And they're just not going to get it. And they're just not going to do it. In fact, that message is going to grieve them.
You're listening to...
I don't think we're done. Because it's so much easier to sweep this message under the carpet and label it works, label it false, and start throwing one verse exegesis from Paul himself to contradict what Paul is saying in Romans. You're an idiot. You just said that Paul contradicts himself. Well, that makes him a false prophet and a false teacher and a false apostle. So who's the idiot, you or Paul? That's what happened 2 Mondays ago in the comments. Some guy was contradicting what I was saying with Paul. Like, you're a special stupid. You're admitting that you believe Paul contradicts himself. What is? But they don't even get to that. They can't even make that connection. They can't even make the connection that this guy is expounding on Paul, and I'm going to use Paul to tell him how he's wrong. It's like there's no critical thinking skills. These people are not very bright. Proverbs already tells us that. What does Proverbs say? They're not very bright and they're lazy. They don't heed wisdom's cry in the street, right? Because what's the fear of God is what? The beginning of wisdom. They don't fear God. We know that. They don't fear God. So they don't have wisdom. And then but if they did fear God and they received wisdom, what's the next step? Proverbs says they would obey the covenant. They would obey the Torah. Because that's the whole purpose of the fear of God and wisdom, is so that you'll obey him the way he subscribed in the prescribed way. So they don't do that. So calamity befalls them and wisdom laughs. You're stupid and you're lazy, and now now your life is ruined and you don't know why. Well, it's because you didn't heed me. So I'm going to throw Paul at you. While you're talking about Paul, I'm going to throw Paul at you when you're telling me what Jesus said. That happens all day long. So, right? No, we're not sitting here telling you that we're not sitting here insulting you just for the sake of insulting you. Come on. See, that proves that you're that guy if you're thinking that. No, we just told you. You don't have the fear of God. If you did, I know you think you have the fear of God, but you don't, because if you did, you'd have his wisdom. And if you had his wisdom, you would understand the red letters. You would understand that it's not Jewish holidays. You would understand that the covenant was established before heaven and earth, and it was established during the making of heaven and earth, Shabbat, chapter 2 of Genesis, and that the covenant was already at work with Adam in the garden. Moses was just the guy that wrote it down. And Jesus defers to Moses. But they can't do that. They can't make that connection. Why? Let's start over. You don't have the fear of God. You don't have his wisdom. So you can't make these connections. So we're not sitting here just talking crap about you and insulting you. No, we're telling you to snap out of it, get saved, allow yourself to be broken on the rock. See, what does Paul say? Paul says the stumbling block, Jesus, the one you're supposed to be broken on, has become the cornerstone and the biggest stumbling block for Israel. Well, it happens to Gentiles too. All right, I'm exhausted. Yeah, look at that. I don't think being a Christian is hard. I think we make it hard. Which is why I think Elijah told Elisha, you've asked for a double portion, you've asked for a very hard thing. Why? Because human nature doesn't want to submit. It doesn't want to submit. It doesn't want to obey. But it's totally doable. Doesn't the Torah say that the Torah is reachable? It's in your heart. You can do it. Doesn't Jesus say, "My burden is light"? Doesn't First John say that it's not burdensome? See, it's not hard. We make it hard. When God says, "Don't do that," and I want to do that, and I don't not do that, that's when it becomes hard. But when God says, "Don't do that," and you say, "Okay," and then you do all the things He tells you to do in order to pull that off, what does He tell you to do? Resist the devil, and you won't sin. Draw near to Him; He'll draw near to you. Right? You got to do all you got to do. Right? Go run 5 miles every morning. That's going to be hard. But if you do there's a process. There's a methodology. Oh, I got to start. You start doing. You start walking. You start slowly, right? And then if you're consistent and you do it every day, you will eventually be able to wake up and run 5 miles in the morning, and it'll be easy peasy. Same thing. Didn't Paul say this is like the running the race, right? It's the same thing. You've got to exercise. Your spiritual thing. You've got to train your soul. You've got to. It's the same exact thing. The more you obey, the easier it becomes. Just like that's why that sports analogy. It's the same thing. You work your body into submission, but it has to start here. This is what drives the body right here. Until this is taken care of, and it says that we're about to get to that point in Romans chapter 12 next Monday, right? Voluntarily throw yourself on the altar. That's your reasonable temple service. Renew your mind. See, that's why you have to wake up in the morning and choose you this day who you serve. Not this month, not this week, not this year. No, today. Because yesterday's gone. Tomorrow doesn't exist. All you have is today. That's it. That's the only thing that you're required to do today. Today you serve Him. Today you obey. Today you say no to your sin. You can live all day long today and not sin and go to sleep tonight, and He'll cover you while you're sleeping. And then it's a do-over. It's a day thing. They don't teach you that because they don't know that. That's the mechanics. Wake up and you choose, I'm not going to sin. God told me not to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. And today I'm not going to do it. Do you think that's easy? Well, it's only easy if you have the muscle memory, because the darts, the fiery darts, the war in your head, right? All that stuff's going to come at you, and you got to know, wax on, wax off. Draw near to Him. Resist the devil. He will flee. Tongues, fasting, whatever. We have the equipment. It's only hard because we don't utilize the equipment. We choose not to utilize the equipment, or we choose not to believe in the equipment or in the methodology, or, I've always said that becoming a rock star is probably one of the easiest things I've ever done in my life, but it's also the hardest thing to do in life. And I liken it to this. You have a pool table. Empty. There's nothing on the table. Just you and one ball. If you bank that ball hard enough, it will eventually get into a hole. We either start believing in our salvation and all of what that means, that the same power, the same Spirit that rose Jesus from the dead lives inside of me, which means what? He conquered death and then gave us the deeds. He gave us the rights and privileges of that. I can say no to my flesh. I can say no to the devil. We just have to make the choice to do so. Oh yeah, happy Passover, everybody.
You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
The views and opinions expressed during our broadcasts are solely those of the broadcast producers, hosts, and/or guests, etc., and are not necessarily the views or opinions of the Travelogue Network, its sponsors, or affiliates.